that DeGeneres was invited and didn't show up.
How was the party? I wasn't invited.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited.
Although Ellen...
It was one of those rare afternoons in Edinburgh when the air felt brighter than usual, sunlight filtering softly through the high windows of the old stone hall where a small Outlander fan event had been arranged. And although the gathering was intended to be intimate and lighthearted, it became unforgettable because of the unexpected revelation that Sam Heughan, dressed casually yet exuding the kind of effortless presence that always drew eyes toward him, shared with his audience a revelation that made the entire room erupt in whispers, cheers, and sheer wonder. At first, the meeting followed the rhythm of countless fan gatherings. Sam answering questions, retelling humorous stories from the set, reflecting on the bonds formed with castmates, and teasing fans with playful anecdotes. But then, after a pause, his voice softened into something almost ceremonial, as though he was about to cross from the ordinary into the extraordinary. "My dear friends," he began warmly, his accent carrying the charm of both the Highlands and his own sincerity. "I have some very special news that I want to share right here with all of you, my supporters, from the bottom of my heart." At once, the atmosphere shifted. People leaned forward in their seats, some gripping their phones tightly in anticipation, others smiling nervously as though sensing that something significant was about to unfold. Sam's eyes narrowed into a smile that seemed both playful and secretive, holding his silence long enough to build tension before he continued, his words rolling slowly, carefully, each one chosen to ignite curiosity. "Dakota Johnson and I have been planning something very private, something very special." The murmur that surged through the hall was like a sudden storm of whispers. What? A movie? A romance? A secret project? And yet Sam's sparkling eyes quickly steered them away from simplistic assumptions. He chuckled gently, calming the wave of speculation. "Don't think about anything big, at least not movies yet. This is something else, something different, but equally important for both of us. It's an artistic journey." That phrase, artistic journey, hung in the air with a weight far greater than its syllables. For the fans knew Sam as an actor, a performer of strength and charisma, but few had ever glimpsed his yearning for a creative space beyond scripts, cameras, and costumes. As he unfolded the story, the hall seemed to dissolve into the memory he described. A casual meeting in Los Angeles, not at a glittering red carpet premiere or a carefully staged press event, but at a humble fan gathering arranged by a mutual friend. He remembered vividly the way Dakota Johnson entered the room that night, not as a Hollywood star, not as the elusive actress known for her enigmatic grace, but as a woman carrying an aura of depth, quiet intelligence, and artistic longing. They had spoken casually, yet beneath the ordinary rhythm of their words there was an unspoken thread of connection. Something neither could dismiss, a recognition of shared creative hunger and emotional sincerity. According to Sam, Dakota had leaned toward him with an idea she had carried for years but never dared to voice fully. A dream of a new kind of performance that would step away from the noise of celebrity and cinema. A performance where music, dance, painting, and storytelling merged into one living language, not bound by dialogue or conventional narrative, but woven through gesture, light, sound, and emotion. She said she wanted to use her body and her emotions to tell silent stories, Sam recalled passionately. Stories full of color, full of sound, yet without a single word. It was, he confessed, the moment he knew he wanted to join her, to shape that vision into something real. To the fans listening, it felt as though Sam was painting an unseen film in the air before them, a cinematic canvas that they alone were privileged to glimpse. He then began describing how the dream had taken its first steps toward reality. Nights of planning over coffee, sketches on scraps of paper, lists of collaborators they wished to invite into the circle of creation. They sought not typical actors or directors, but a movement animator capable of shaping human motion into visual poetry. A sound artist who could craft rhythmic waves that carried feeling rather than melody alone, and a lighting designer with the rare talent to sculpt entire worlds from the play of shadows and radiance. "I would not be the storyteller with words," Sam emphasized, his voice glowing with conviction, "but with expression, with music, with movement." This struck his audience deeply. He, The man whose voice had enchanted millions on screen, now yearning to express himself beyond voice, through silence, rhythm, and gesture. He explained that the performance they envisioned was not designed for grand arenas or vast theaters, but for intimacy. A setting where 200 or 300 people could breathe the same air, feel the same silence, and watch art happen not at a distance but within touching range. The choice of location, he revealed, was still open. Perhaps New York with its eclectic artistic pulse, perhaps Seattle with its understated charm, or perhaps Edinburgh itself, where the Celtic spirit could infuse every moment with ancestral echoes of myth and song. Then, almost conspiratorially, he shared that rehearsals had already begun in secret. Dakota is strong, delicate, and completely unexpected, he said with a quiet smile. He described one rehearsal moment that had etched itself into his heart. Dakota standing beneath a soft blue light, her face turned slightly, her movements threading between reality and dream, while music whispered through the room like a drifting mist, and he, joining her in a slow dance, felt the performance transform into something more than choreography. It became an atmosphere, an ocean of emotion where silence spoke louder than words. The audience sat spellbound as Sam paused, letting them savor the image, almost as if the performance itself had momentarily entered the hall with him. Then, breaking the trance, he chuckled softly, grounding the vision again. "We want to invite you, those who truly want to experience art differently, to come," he said, though he admitted the official announcement of time and place would remain secret for now, reserved only for those ready to step into the unknown. The applause that followed was thunderous, fans standing, cheering, some even with tears in their eyes at the thought of their beloved actor revealing such a vulnerable, intimate dream. A few called out playfully, "Sam, is Dakota here?" And he laughed with an ease that showed his joy. "No, not today, but she's definitely thinking about it, and I promise I'll have her send you a message." Behind that smile, however, lingered the truth of a deeper silence. After that event, no further word of the project reached the public. It became a whispered myth among fans, a mystery hanging in the air, a question without an answer. But in the hidden corners of their lives, away from cameras and headlines, Sam and Dakota continued quietly, determinedly, nurturing the fragile dream. Day after day, they exchanged ideas, sometimes in hushed conversations across continents, sometimes in late-night studio sessions where laughter and intensity mixed together. They searched for spaces that could hold the intimacy they needed. An old warehouse in Brooklyn with brick walls that echoed with history, a hidden gallery in Seattle whose skylight turned sunsets into golden fire, a forgotten stone chapel on the outskirts of Edinburgh where silence carried a weight no technology could replicate. Each location was discussed with reverence, as though the choice of space itself was part of the art. Every detail mattered. The way light would fall across Dakota's cheek, the way a violin's single note might rise and vanish into silence, the way audience members would be seated close enough to hear the performer's breaths. For Sam, it was more than collaboration. It was a pilgrimage toward a form of truth he had never explored before, and for Dakota, it was liberation from the labels the world pressed upon her, an escape into pure creation. Together, they envisioned an experience not as entertainment but as communion, a meeting place of human souls through art. To outsiders, it was only rumor, but to them, it was a living fire, carefully sheltered, waiting for the right moment.
Oh,
What the hell?
she didn't see that coming?
That's not how it works.
I've seen that man before. So who?
On a pale Edinburgh morning, Dakota spent her time sketching delicate lines that seemed to dance across the paper while Sam, in another corner of the room, experimented with songs, each note tested for its ability to draw emotion from silence, until one day she sent him a short video on her phone. A simple recording of herself spinning in a studio drenched in red light, the scene stripped to its bones with only a few white rays piercing through like fragments of memory. And beneath it she wrote, almost whispering through text, "Maybe this is the dream we need to tell." A message that Sam replayed again and again, smiling each time with that quiet sigh of recognition that comes when two visions finally meet in harmony. And from that small gesture, a frenzy of days began. the kind of hidden preparation that artists cherish and fear at the same time, a secret fueled not by publicity or spectacle but by devotion to an idea that felt too fragile to be exposed to the brutal distortions of the media, so instead they wove a private network of trust, confiding only in close friends, fellow artists, and a handful of fans who had been present at the first gathering, creating hidden groups online where details were whispered not in words but in codes of music and patterns of light, as though art itself had become their language of secrecy, until at last on a cold November evening, the 30th to be exact, the silence broke with a cryptic invitation that arrived in the inboxes of those chosen, its message brief and haunting. Come and feel. The night allows you to see the hidden truth. No location given, only the promise that it would be revealed exactly 2 hours before the performance. A mystery that stirred both excitement and nervousness among the more than 200 recipients, who, when the second message arrived, learned that the venue was a small forgotten theater tucked into an alleyway of Edinburgh, its windows glowing with golden warmth against the frost of the night, so that by the time the guests filed inside, brushing off the cold, they already felt they were entering not a building but another world, a space alive with anticipation. And then the performance began without warning, Sam stepping onto the stage not dressed in costume or polished tuxedo but in a dark shirt and jeans, stripped back, almost anonymous, his presence carrying the illusion of a figure both ordinary and extraordinary, while Dakota appeared later as though conjured, her movement delicate and ghostly, her figure transfixing in the dim light, not a star but a spirit, and the music swelled, not as accompaniment but as pulse, while projected images of painted color shifted across the old wooden walls, turning the theater into a canvas of silhouettes, memories, and dissolving dreams, and together they moved, turning, touching, drifting apart, in gestures that spoke more powerfully than words of love, longing, and loneliness, the kind of story everyone recognizes yet no one can fully explain, and with each burst of light and each fragment of silence the atmosphere deepened, until the final moment came, sudden and devastating.